I'm Dr. Thomas Coggin, a senior lecturer in property law at the University of the Witwatersrand. Today, I'm going to be chatting to you about how we can use the Constitution of South Africa to protect waste picker livelihoods and to value their contributions to our communities. So, according to a report published by the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research, or the CSIR, it was estimated that there were between 60,000 and 90,000 waste pickers in South Africa. After collecting recyclable waste pickers sell on this material to buyback centers, who in turn sell it on to manufacturers both in South Africa and abroad for the material to be used. Although specific data is hard to come by, it appears that South Africa benefits significantly from informal recyclers or waste pickers. For example, the same CSIR study concluded that informal recyclers have saved municipalities between 310 million rand and 748 million rand a year, depending on how much airspace is available for waste disposal in any particular city or town. But informal recycling is also a significant income generator for many families. Collect a Can, for example, a non-profit organization that works with beverage and packaging companies such as Nampak and ArcelorMittal, claims that it pays 20 million rand a year to informal collectors. On a broader macroeconomic scale, however, it is not entirely clear whether waste pickers are compensated as fully as they should be in light of what they recycle. We need to ask, if, for the sake of argument, waste pickers in any one particular municipality are saving that municipality upwards of 300 million rand a year in landfill airspace, then is that saving being passed on to waste pickers? It is useful here to draw on what our Constitution and our Bill of Rights envisages for society. The Bill of Rights is useful in the way it can act as a blueprint for how a democratic South Africa may begin to redress the omnipresent legacy of apartheid and colonialism. And one such legacy is that of gross wealth inequality between rich and poor. Wealth remains stubbornly in the hands of a select few in South Africa, and the Bill of Rights can act as a way of obligating society to redistribute that wealth more equitably. So, in figuring out how the Constitution protects waste picker livelihoods, I think we should take our cue from Section 24 of the Constitution. Simply titled Environment, Section 24 mandates that everyone has two sets of connected rights. The first is the right to an environment that is not harmful to our health or well-being. And the second is a right to have our environment protected for the benefit of present and future generations. Now, we tend to think about the environment in terms of its natural attributes, but there's a strong argument to be made that Section 24 protects a right to an urban living environment. Various legal scholars in South Africa have in fact made this argument, and in doing so have focused on the well-being aspect of the environmental right. Specifically, that we have a right to an environment that is not harmful to our well-being. I would argue that this notion of well-being recognizes that many of us derive our livelihoods from the broader urban environment. In fact, we can see this very point in our current state of being, right? This lockdown in which we are not able to interact with each other socially or at work has a detrimental impact, perhaps, on our sense of well-being. As social creatures, we arguably derive our well-being from our broader community and the fact that we're able to socialize or trade with other members of the community. Waste pickers are no different here. Their income comes from the fact that they collect and recycle solid waste that has been discarded by other members of society. In this way, they are an interconnected part of the urban environment, and their well-being derives from the income they receive for the service. Where, however, and this is the really important point, right? Where, however, certain groups of people are not adequately compensated, even though they may perform a function that is vital to the broader urban environment, then there is an imbalance. And this imbalance may be an unjustifiable limitation of their environmental right. I would suggest that waste pickers possibly fall into this category that I've just described. Again, if we assume that waste pickers are saving municipalities upwards of 300 million rand a year in landfill airspace, then arguably that saving should be passed on to waste pickers, individually and or collectively. However, it's more about simply passing on the saving. It is rather about recognizing in material terms the contributions waste pickers make to our own health and well-being in the urban environment, and understanding that if we do not compensate waste pickers for this contribution, then there exists a one-sided sense of well-being in the urban environment, in which consumers discard waste and waste pickers perform a vital service for very little income. It is important to redress this imbalance, especially because waste pickers are often presented in a negative way and are seen as components of disorder in the urban environment. But the irony, of course, is that waste pickers are fundamental to maintaining a sustainable sense of order in our cities today. And this, in fact, has been recognized as such in Colombia, where its constitutional court in 2011 ordered the city of Bogota to compensate its waste pickers in the same way it would compensate a larger formal company. So, to recap, waste pickers are a vital part of the urban environment in South Africa because they assist substantially in the process of recycling solid waste. Recycling is itself important. In a world where we consume and consume and consume, waste pickers are often able to earn an income from the service they perform, but it is important to ask whether, as individuals and collectives, whether they are being sufficiently compensated for their services, especially in light of how much municipalities may save. Section 24 of the Constitution helps us understand this imperative a bit more clearly. If we do not compensate waste pickers for the contribution they make to our own environmental well-being, then there exists a one-sided sense of well-being in the urban environment, in which consumers simply discard used materials and others, like waste pickers, are left to pick up the pieces for very little income. I hope you enjoyed my short presentation today. If you would like to discuss more, then please do feel free to get in touch with me. Keep well and keep healthy.